Hi, Michu. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Let's all welcome our
Fantastic.
very own Melinda Roy here. She's back. How are you, Melinda?
Hey Shruti, I am good. How are you?
Very well,
I'm
thank
doing
you.
well. Thank you for having me today.
So thank you so much for joining this event, everyone. Sorry I missed this from the morning due to some another job. So I don't want to miss this opportunity because I want to see all the wonderful presentations today. So I am back. This is Melinda Roy. So I am here the rest of the day to see your wonderful presentations today. So welcome our speaker, Micho Olivera, is already on the stage. So I would like to give a brief introduction. So in early 2018, Michu Oliveira's life crisis led him to reconnect with psychedelic mushrooms, transforming his relationship with alcohol and expanding his consciousness. A 2019 spiritual awakening revealed his purpose to help others heal trauma, and expand awareness using psilocybin mushrooms and LSD. Now, a seasoned professional, Michu guides clients in overcoming trauma, developing intuition, and achieving self realization through psychedelics, witnessing their transformative impact firsthand. Oh, that was really a great presentation. It was a unique about the mushrooms. I think I already knew about you in the video about the mushrooms and all things that I saw. So I would like to hear more from you. So welcome on the stage.
Thank you for correcting your pronouns, she and her. Thank you so much, Michu. Thank you.
That's
The
okay.
stage is
And
all
thank
yours.
you so much for the incredible honor to be here today. I am happy to present the findings of 7 years of personal and professional research with psilocybin, mushrooms, and LSD. And I know this is going to be a topic that is going to be very vast, so please bear with me. I'm going to put a lot of information into this in a very short amount of time. I'm also welcoming you to please reach out if there are questions that I don't get to answer of yours. You're welcome to reach out to me on any of my social platforms, or you can reach out to me through my email, which is mishuolivera@gmail.com. To begin, I'd like to share that this is a topic that has changed my life in radical ways from a time when I was struggling with many, many troubling challenges with mental health, addiction, and personal identity crisis. And as I am now here to essentially share my very abbreviated version of 7 years of research with psilocybin mushrooms and LSD. To begin, I would like to share that LSD and mushrooms have a cohesive link by the way of their fungal properties. Mushrooms, to begin, grown in the earth, are targeting shadow elements of ourselves, ancestral elements, and also inner child due to the foundation of their growth in the dark, right? So what I've learned here with myself and with the clients that I work with, when we take mushrooms of varying varieties, as each variety offers a different access to energy and also spiritualism, the different strains or variety types will offer different varieties. So it's very important too, when you're working with the provider, that they know mushrooms very intimately to be able to choose the right variety for your current challenges or opportunities that you seek to achieve. LSD is also a piece of symbiosis with mushrooms that is also a fungal property coming from Claviceps purpurea, which is ergo fungus. This is grown on rye plants in the sun, so it is targeting crown chakra elements, third eye, and also throat chakras. Watching these two medicines work with people, myself included, what you're witnessing is mushrooms working with shadow elements, root chakra, foundational growth of understanding of how to show up for deep, challenging elements of shadow self. These are shameful aspects of ourselves that a lot of times we don't have the understanding of why we're acting in certain ways that are really shameful, not of our highest self, and really coming from places that don't honor us in our highest capacity. What mushrooms are allowing is the consciousness to meet these places of ourselves with less judgment and more compassion. What I'm also noticing with clients is when they're combining mushrooms and LSD, they're having a more well-rounded approach to universal healing of themselves. Foundationally, with mushrooms, you're building a foundation of understanding of the opportunities, right? Of what is available to you with your shadow work that is going to meet you with essentially healing inner child, pieces of yourself that are long forgotten or not even known, right? LSD comes in to essentially offer the articulation, if you will, of the vast understanding of consciousness that mushrooms impart. LSD is a refinement of cognition and of the ability to connect the two pieces of healing elements of LSD and mushrooms together so it is cohesive in the way that it offers higher elements of healing and access to understanding, of higher self-awareness and consciousness expansion. What I'd like to speak about also at this time is the way that we access these medicines in micro, meso, and macrodosing capacities. I have taken considerable care in creating protocols of micro, meso, and macrodosing for my clients over the last 5 years. And what I have found is that certain types of people coming from trauma backgrounds, addiction backgrounds, or other traumatic PTSD challenges are needing to start foundationally, usually with mushrooms. And depending on the level of their trauma or overwhelm, specific types of mushrooms are going to offer more access. Certain other types of mushrooms are going to exacerbate the trauma. So it becomes very important to understand the type of mushroom that you need to work with is based upon the current trauma, mental health, or addiction challenges that you're currently facing. What I am also learning is that mesodosing far surpasses microdosing in the ability to offer more access to understanding the areas that are allowed opportunity for us to access for our healing immediately. When you're taking a slight bit more mushrooms, you're taking a bit more of the active ingredients of psilocybin and the other alkaloids to help you connect to conscious awareness of where to show up for yourself with more grace and compassion. Microdosing is a good way to start, but for a lot of people, what I have noticed these last 5 years is their process has a bit of a coming up and then a plateau. They're not really doing a whole lot of other growth in that space unless they either take another larger dose or continue with something called mesodosing. Mesodosing is going to give you a bit more access to consciousness understanding of where specifically you are hanging up in your behavior, in your life, with your addictions, and so forth. These are all opportunities of growth. And depending on the amount and the strain type of the mushroom that you're taking, you will have tremendous access to these elements of opportunity for you. The macrodose is a dose that is very transformational, and this is a dose that I personally embarked on myself. 2 years of monthly macrodosing set me on a path of absolute unbelievable transformation. Addiction of alcohol, cannabis, and nicotine are no longer problems that I face. Many mental health challenges that I have been a lifetime of challenges of mental health in my life. And I'm grateful to mushrooms and LSD for allowing me in bigger doses to really face the difficulties that I'm presented with grace, understanding, and compassion to move through, to evolve myself, to now be able to help other people in very, very similar ways. What I've noticed with all of this is the incredible need to integrate all of these aspects of consumption of microdose, mesodose, macrodose of mushrooms and LSD. You must integrate what is brought to the surface of taking these incredible tools. If you're not working with somebody who has the understanding of higher consciousness, it becomes very difficult for them to help you with the larger pieces of consciousness that you're going to basically come face to face with in working with psilocybin mushrooms and LSD. It becomes necessary to integrate what your mind is attempting to show you, the connections to what you're being brought to the forefront of. So when you work with somebody who has direct personal experience with the process of expanding consciousness, of healing addiction or mental health traumas and challenges, you have a very cohesive approach to a transformative, life-changing experience over time of working with these tools. Now, at this time, what becomes necessary also is to realize that this is a process. This is not a one and done experience. You don't simply take mushrooms one time and have a transformation experience. Some people may, but this is not a long-term experience because you're going to be brought back to, after a month's time or so of not taking these medicines, you'll be brought back to how you were before you took this substance. So you must continually work with the integration piece that is allowed with another provider with the experience, and also continuing the dosing of your choosing of basically what is resonating with your current opportunities of healing, whether that's macro, meso, or micro. It is imperative to work with somebody to help you understand the way that these different dosing types can really help you, and on which part of your path are you on? Are you working with root chakra? Are you working with areas of your, essentially from chest down? Mushrooms are perfect for that. These are the foundational elements. LSD, on the other hand, if you've already been working with psychedelics and you have some work with maybe some shadow elements that you're facing, and now it's time to apply and have cognition and articulation around these offerings, LSD is phenomenal. It is energetic. It is an analgesic. It is going to target a lot more pain aspects than mushrooms will. And it is incredible for understanding the deeper elements behind what keeps you from elevating to your highest self. Now, when it comes for integration, the way we integrate psychedelic experiences or even psychedelic microdosing, it becomes necessary to really understand how psychedelics show up for trauma, how they show up for addiction, and how they show up for depression and anxiety. What we're looking at in truth is not that the psychedelic is taking your depression away, it is giving you access to understanding why and how it is affecting you. This is through consciousness. It is important to understand that these are medicines of huge transformation. It is not a one and done. These are not replacing Western medicine. These are tools of expansion. Not everyone should do this process. This is something that I have also learned. Psychedelics are not a cure-all for everybody. You must have incredible courage to embrace a path of transformation that will take you out of the place that you know yourself and have known yourself your entire life, and now encourage and inspire you to rise to your highest self. It requires dedication. It requires incredible patience. It also requires surroundings that support your process. If you're working with psychedelic medicines, such as mushrooms and LSD, and you are in a house or in a dwelling that doesn't understand or support your process, you will be met with incredible challenges in addition to what the actual experience itself is going to offer you. It is very important to be having a safe environment to explore and evolve yourself in ways that seek to really offer you the highest level of existence from joy and from appreciation and gratitude in life. When it comes to dosing, not one size fits all. Please understand that when you're choosing or when you're inspired to look at the possibility of working with psychedelics such as psilocybin mushrooms and LSD, you are needing to work with a provider that can give you the option to work with your intuition around how you need to show up. What does it look like for you? It is not simply taking capsules of psilocybin mushrooms and going about your life, hoping everything is great. You have options. Your intuition is meant to be part of how this process works. Intuitively, you know what is not a place for you to start that would be unsafe and what would be a safe place to start. And with the coaching of an experienced guide or facilitator, this is a person who's going to help you connect to the truth of what would be the best place for you to start. Do we have any questions? Let's see, I'm not seeing any questions, and that's okay. We can keep talking. So what I've learned and what becomes really interesting here is the way that people they're getting part of this understanding of the way that mushrooms can potentially help them by watching all the social and the news and the media. There's quite a hype around the way these medicines can really benefit us. What becomes very necessary is to focus on the truth of what is possible, which is much more than has been shared because they are experimenting with very small amounts and have been for quite some time. The work that I have done focuses on macrodosing mushrooms and microdosing LSD. The work that I've also done from a mycology standpoint is to focus on specific strains, as I've grown 20 different varieties of psilocybin mushrooms to work with my clients. I have found specific proprietary information regarding different strain types, helping certain types of mental health challenges, addiction challenges, with the use of people currently using their SSRIs. Certain varieties of mushrooms will work with SSRIs in very safe ways, allowing people to stay on their medication while experiencing this certain type of mushrooms and be able to titrate off of their medications in a way that doesn't create upheaval and more trauma for them. This is something that I've spent close to 6-7 years now researching mycology to be able to provide my clients with specifically what they need to do the work that is evading them their entire lives. This has been incredible to witness. These last 5 years of guiding now 167 mushroom journeys around the United States, I have witnessed incredible transformations of people with agoraphobia, chronic mental and medical challenges that they have had for most of their lives. A lot of my clients are older folks in their 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s who they're facing incredible things such as end of life, really terminal diagnoses that are gravely difficult to embrace. These medicines are helping people connect to compassion in themselves in the most dire times in their life. They are rising to their own occasions of courage and heroic compassion. It is necessary to look at the vast ability for these medicines to help people from a place of understanding and education and truth. It's necessary to speak truth around what is possible here and to not come from fear and stigmatism from a society that had just begun research into these substances back in the 50s. In this time, in the last 7 years, I have changed my life with these substances, and I'm here to help others do the same. And it comes from a place of awareness and from observation that these are patterned results that are repeating themselves over and over again. And it is so beautiful to watch someone who has struggled their entire life with a challenge, say, for example, of addiction, and to have the agency to face the addiction in a way that offers you grace and courage and empowerment instead of shame and judgment. These substances are incredible for these reasons, and I will always advocate these for the rest of my entire life. I am grateful for the opportunity to have the time to speak and to share what this is really about in my personal experience. When it comes to choosing how you work with psychedelics, if you have the interest, start to research coming from what places of opportunity existing are existing within you right now. Are you working with addiction? Are you working with mental health? Are you working with grief? There are specific ways to address each of these topics in ways that honor what you're being met with as far as the challenges you're facing in your life. LSD is going to be a substance that has more energy. The way that LSD is working is coming from a place starting in the heart and really coming into feeling of inner joy. Child is enlightened inside. You're feeling elated and excited by life. You're feeling social and community connection in ways that I don't understand. I've never experienced anything like what this substance brings to you as far as community, unity, and a sense of deep purpose to connect and help others in similar ways. LSD is offering incredible insight into the reasons behind why we behave the way we behave. There are reasons for every aspect of our behavior. If we have the courage to look at what they are without being afraid or having judgment and shame for ourselves in these places. When it comes to mushrooms and LSD together, we are not combining these together in a way that you're taking mushrooms and then you're taking LSD close together. Ideally, you want to have at least 2 months of one before you switch to the other. The energies are very different. The messages and the locations that they're offering access to are also very different. So thinking from a place of understanding how these work becomes critical. Unless you're working with someone who has done this work themselves personally, it is very difficult for them to understand the way to apply them for your specific needs and interests of personal growth. It becomes very important to really understand what's at stake here. You have the opportunity to evolve yourself beyond your wildest dreams. How much do you feel courage around this process? How much excitement do you have? If it feels like it's not for you, that's okay. This process is not for everybody, nor should it be a solution or an alternative to psychology. We should have options for both, ideally, right? As a culture, as a human race, we should have psychology and psychedelic medicines offered for people who seek to heal and evolve themselves, right? At this time, it is really important to really take the sum of what I've said and apply it to you in a way of asking yourself, where are you in your life? And is this something that would apply to you that you could potentially benefit from? To what level do you want to face what you seek to heal? Or to what level are you just seeking to escape? Psychedelic medicines are not a means of escapism. You can take them and feel incredible things in the event of the actual journey itself or the actual experience of consumption. And afterwards, you will be brought back to the reasons why you are having your experiences. It takes incredible courage to face up to what you are providing yourself with regard to what your lived experience is. Psychedelic medicines are not tools to just make everything go away and feel great, as most of the people that I have experienced have the misunderstanding of. This is a time to embrace your lived experience and to take full accountability in what is given for you right in front of you, having the awareness to understand the mechanisms behind your behavior with the use of mushrooms, like psilocybin mushrooms and LSD, is the beginning of transformation that will completely change life in a way that feels livable, that feels exciting again. I never in a million years thought that I would ever have the ability to live without drinking. I was a lifelong alcoholic for 38 years. I struggled intensely with being a very masculine woman. With this presentation in the 70s and 80s, there was no support for me. I drank excessively. I used cannabis excessively. I used nicotine excessively since 13 years old, my entire life. Psilocybin mushrooms and LSD have allowed me to face myself in a way that I have never been able to. Never in my life have I been able to stop and look and say, hey, you're okay, even if you're struggling. And here's how we can get out of this in a way that honors you. Here's how we can really show up with love, compassion, and self-care instead of judgment and ridicule and all the negativity that comes with that. This process has evolved my life in such a way I have dedicated my entire life to helping others on a similar path, as this is my life's purpose. I am excited to have the opportunity to share all of this information with people on this platform, to have the courage to speak truth in a way that exceeds where the society is now currently with psychedelic research. It has taken me incredible courage to have the faith that this isn't going to get me in big trouble, that instead it's going to help a lot of people. I'm going to trust, right? I'm going to trust from my heart that what I'm doing today is for the betterment of people and their access to healing and breaking cycles that they no longer need from ancestral trauma, from any sort of addiction, cultural challenges, anything that they face in their lives. If you're seeking access to a graceful life, to inner peace, this is a method that is very useful and that is very straightforward, working with the person, someone who knows the process. If you are inspired to work with psychedelic medicines or to learn more about them, you are welcome to reach out to me if you have questions. If you are inspired and you don't live anywhere near Massachusetts, United States, I recommend seeking somebody in your area who comes from physical experience on a deep way with this process. They will be able to help you in ways that someone with a simple certification will not be able to. This process changes your life. It changes the way that you look at everything in your life, and how you move through the world will be very different when you come from the heart instead of fear-based narratives in your mind. The way that integration is working ideally is that it's helping to show shining light on the narrative or the outdated belief system that you are operating from, to allow truth to remain surrounding you instead of, these are thoughts, a lot of which that people have, they're not true. These are belief systems from society, from our parents, from culture, all the different things. You don't have to keep living in a life of conditioning of the mind when you know for a fact that in your heart, these aren't true things that you're being brought to the awareness of. These are areas of opportunity for you to transcend, transmute, and to move through. If you have the courage to embrace yourself in these ways, this might be a method for you that would be very, very instrumental in healing and letting you live a life of grace and compassion with yourself, right? Of looking at the way you live in your relationships, at work, with your spouse, with your partner, with your children, right? To not take on what these people are showing you. These are your own opportunities of healing. The way other people are in the world with you, a lot of times is coming directly from how you are in yourself. So consciousness plays a part in freedom. If there's any questions at this time, I'm happy to answer them. I'm happy to answer any questions. You're welcome to write them in the chat if you have any questions at this time. Otherwise, this has been a dream of mine to speak, to share. I actually had a experience with mushrooms back in 2019 where I did see a future of speaking in front of people, speaking in front of anyone that was willing to listen. And for this to come true yet again, it's a huge honor for me to be welcome to such an event as this, to share research and experiment and professional and personal actuality. Is incredibly it's mind-blowing for me to be here today. It's been a really, really wild experience. I am in the process of writing a few books, of creating courses, a lot of other offerings for community. I do offer a global weekly integration, and you're welcome to join anytime through my social media.
Thank you so much. That was really a great presentation sharing with our Global Virtual Summit 2024. So we do have a questions for you. So here is the question. What advice would you give to someone considering psychedelic therapy for trauma healing?
To think about the best advice that I could give if you're seeking psychedelic medicines for trauma healing is to assess the level of trauma that you currently have. Are you in a place of overwhelm all the time? Are you in a place that you can't leave the house? The way you start the work with psychedelics becomes necessary to reflect on yourself. If you're in a place of if you're very reactive, if you're very fearful, you start with a very low potency strain at a very low dose. And these are methodologies that I've written and created for my clients. Learning about what strains are going to be very impactful and not create overwhelm. I'm hearing trauma stories from people taking a lot of very potent strains and exacerbating their trauma, making their overwhelm and their mental health challenges or their PTSD worse. And it is imperative to not have that happen. It is imperative to offer harm reduction from education and to create the correct strain for the correct, for the occurrence that is happening with the person, right? So knowing what strain and how much is paramount here.
That was really a nice
So do your
explanation.
research.
Hope the audience got the answer. So thank you so much for joining this event today, and hope you have to encourage our next session speakers as well. So please do join our next speaker sessions, and if you have any questions, please raise your questions as well. It will boost up the audience. So yeah, the next speaker is right now not available. So let's take a 30 minutes of break and we will come back. Thank you. This is Khalid.
Thank you. Is that it? Wait, look, it's blinding now. What a giant honor. Thank you, Susan.
Go all the way to the bottom too. It might be louder.